and I were friends on Facebook at first. We
Yeah.
were interacting with each other. We had a bit of a fallout. It wasn't like finger pointing and, you know, it wasn't...
I just didn't agree with what you said.
Yeah, it wasn't mudslinging.
Yeah.
And then you've kind of had this shift and then we've reconnected. There's more bond between us now.
Yes. Without sounding overly dramatic, I'm a pragmatist. That's how I approach everything. That's how I like to see everything. I didn't know what I was going to do when I saw the Kaaba. I didn't know how I was going to react. I didn't know how I was going to feel. People around me are crying and sobbing. I'm looking and I'm almost in a little bit of a state of shock. I'm still thinking, I don't deserve to be here. Like I haven't done what needs to be done to be here. I saw on Instagram that Mufti Menk was in Medina. I go out in the evening. I go to get some food, go for a walk, come back, and he's just walking on his own, right through Masjid al-Nabawi. I don't know. Don't ask me what side it was on, but it was on the quiet side. It was in the evening, and I'm really quite far away from him. I'm walking along, and I spot him, and I look at him, and he locks eyes at me, and he smiles, and I smile, and I run over like a little fanboy. I run over, Assalamu alaikum, and he's smiling. I got a picture with him, and my entire life up until that point has been based around: you get up in the morning, we get ready for work, and we go to work, and it's done yet, and it's work, and it's work. For the first time in my entire life, I was getting up to pray. Like work was secondary. So, Assalamu alaikum. I am Kevin Turton. I am a Muslim convert, revert, whichever you want to refer to me as. I've been a Muslim for 23 years. I converted when I was a young person. As a profession, I'm in sales. I specialise in art sales. I'm head of an art department. And I have daughters, and I live in the Midlands, and I'm originally from the northwest of England.
I just want to get right into it, really, with you. We had this conversation on the phone, and you said you were kind of, correct me if I'm wrong, but you said you were plugged into the rat race and stuff.
Yeah.
And then you decided you got kind of forced to go on Umrah.
I didn't feel ready. I didn't feel worthy of going on Umrah.
Right. Okay.
But then, yeah.
Okay. So you didn't feel worthy of going on Umrah, but then you kind of got dragged into going on Umrah, and then you said there was this that entire journey. You said it was this really important shift. So tell me the story of what happened on Umrah. Tell me right from the beginning of finishing, because you said it was like the day that you had to go to the airport and then everything from there. Tell me this entire story.
So I'd promised myself that months before this Umrah trip started, that I was going to do the relevant preparation. I was going to read the right things and study. I didn't.
Right.
Astaghfirullah, I didn't do it.
When you say read the right things, like what
I just want, because certain brothers had said to me, you need to read this, you need to read that, you need to prepare yourself for this blessed trip that Allah has invited you on.
Right.
I almost in a state of like, yeah, I know that, but I'll do it all on the plane, on the way, right? And right up to being at the airport, I was still answering emails, working from work, all work related. I didn't switch off, even at that point. So I still wasn't in the right frame of mind, right? But it was a necessary trip. I'm on it now and we're doing it. Even when I changed into the ihram and whatever else, there was this really... I got changed into the ihram, and it was in Venice, because we did a change.
And was your entire family with you?
Everybody.
Right.
Yeah.
So there was this big tribe that went...
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, big tribe.
Okay.
So even then, when I put the ihram on, I came out, I didn't feel right. I was like, okay... I don't feel
Islamic.
I don't feel Islamic. I don't feel Umrah, if that's not even a word.
Yeah.
But that's what I felt. I didn't feel like I was ready for it.
Okay.
So I came out. It wasn't until when we got picked up from Jeddah Airport, and this is the old Jeddah Airport, right? So it was like, just because obviously there's the newer airport, so the older airport. I've got a headache. I'm irritated. I almost, at that point, again, Allah forgive me, I just wanted to be at home. I didn't want to...
And you've never been before, by the way?
Never been.
Okay.
Never been.
So you've not seen the Kaaba before?
Not seen the Kaaba before. Never been. Get into this minibus thing. Start heading towards Mecca. I fall asleep. head's hurting. I'm everything rolling. I'm waiting to just lose my rag at this point. Like my arm kept falling off, and I'm just like, oh no. I'm still thinking about work. Right? I'm still thinking I've got to do this, I've got to do that, and then whatever. When we got, so there's that point. Now, don't ask me about what the geographical names of these places are, but when you got to where you go under the bridge where it's the Khuram, that's open.
Right.
What's that called?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I haven't been for 20 years.
All right. Well, inshallah, you get to go soon.
Inshallah.
I woke up in the minibus, and that's what I seen. I was like, whoa, okay.
Is it the Day of Judgment?
I was like, whoa, okay. Like, wow. And so that knocked me back a little bit.
Okay.
And as we got closer and closer, I then caught sight of the clock tower.
Right. So you know the Kaaba's next to the clock tower, so you know.
Yeah, so I see the clock tower, and then I'm thinking, okay. And then this little bit of anxiety started creeping, like, okay, wow. And then there was a real state of anxiety, like, oh no, I've not prepared for this.
Right.
I really have not done a good job now with this. I'm like, I need to, this is not good. Get there, get into the hotel, freshen up, walk down. So stayed in the clock tower, walk down the ramp out of the clock tower. Then it started like creeping in then. Then I'm like, okay, this is big. This is big. All I'm thinking about is my lack of preparation and shame on me. In a nutshell, I mean, like I could have turned around at that point. That's the level of
the shame that you're feeling.
Yeah, not disgust as much, but
the
almost
level of
like
shame you're feeling.
I don't even deserve to be here. I did not prepare for this. You know, as people know me, Abdurrahim is my Muslim name. Right. It's like Abdurrahim, like you've not done a good job at this, mate. Like you really haven't. Which
is how we're told that people could feel on the Day of Judgment. It's that kind of a thing, isn't it? It's like a trial run.
Yeah. And I really felt it. So without sounding overly dramatic, I'm a pragmatist. Right? That's how I approach everything. That's how I like to see everything. I didn't know what I was going to do when I saw the Kaaba. Right. I didn't know how I was going to react. I didn't know how I was going to feel. And I admit I was, again, as I just said, uptight and anxious. Then I saw the Kaaba. And even then it didn't sort of, it wasn't like people around me are crying and sobbing. I'm looking and I'm almost in a little bit of a state of shock. I'm still thinking, I don't deserve to be here. Like I haven't done what needs to be done to be here. Then the Umrah starts. And then I think it was on my second tawaf round. It sort of hit me on the second or third. And I was just like, I was looking around at me. I was looking at all these different people from all these different walks of life. And all of a sudden, on that second sort of 2.5 point, it was like, none of this, like, this guy in front of me is probably a billionaire. This guy behind me is probably come from nothing, got nothing.
But you're all equal.
At this point, none of it matters. And then I was like, it hit me quite hard. Then the emotion kicked in. Right. And then I was like, oh my days, oh my days, oh my days. I can't, oh my days, oh my days, oh my days. MashaAllah. It had finished. So for me, the real shift, it wasn't so much doing that. It was post the Umrah, right? So back to the hotel, sort of in a shock, in a daze after what I've just done. Completed the Umrah.
Were you like quiet and?
I was quiet. I was a little bit. I was a bit sedated. It was a weird time as well. So by the time Umrah had finished, it was Fajr time. So we prayed Fajr. So sleep patterns all over the place.
Right. Okay.
It wasn't really till the next day when I woke up. And this is the key thing, right? This is the really weird thing. My entire life up until that point has been based around, we get up in the morning, we get ready for work, and we go to work, and it's done yet, and it's work, and it's work. For the first time in my entire life, I was getting up to pray. Right. Like work was secondary. Now I've told this to certain brothers since I've got back. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, no. It's not yeah. You don't understand the shift in your mind. To then break out of a system and a way of living and all. I've never experienced another way of living ever, where my life is built around prayer, around the salah time. And I suffer with. I mean, I suffer with anxiety. Right. Have done for many years. it kind of comes in the territory of sales. You find most good salespeople have got like massive anxiety or depression issues.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's a really common thing. Like it's like this, up and down.
I did not know that.
Yeah, big. I mean, not all of them, but
yeah,
I've worked with.
I thought they'd be like really confident.
Yeah,
and very like.
Yeah, they
know,
are. Yeah,
okay.
And then they crash.
Okay. So they kind of build themselves up. It's
yeah,
like
which is what I've done for 20 odd years of being in sales. Has been about you just fly by the seat of your pants. You just go through every situation. You come out the other side of it, and then you might be okay, then you might crash. So I've suffered with anxiety. I had zero anxiety on that trip.
Oh wow!
Zero anxiety in Mecca. Zero anxiety in Medina.
Amazing.
None whatsoever.
State of the Nafs, isn't it?
Do you know what? Like, from someone who, before I was in art sales, I was in menswear. So I come from quite a traditional menswear background. So I worked on Savile Row, Geeves and Hawkes. So
all the posh stuff.
All the posh stuff. Image is a big thing. I didn't care about image in Umrah.
Yeah.
I didn't care about image.
Yeah.
I was comfortable. I was happy.
You don't care about what car you're driving. You don't care about what you're wearing.
I didn't care about that stuff.
Yeah.
I was happy. And I also, this is the other big thing, right? I don't want to trigger anyone.
Yeah.
But the different sect thing, like, are you a Wahhabi? Are you a Salafi? Are you a Deobandi? I'm praying next to a Wahhabi.
Yeah.
Visually.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, okay. Seems quite strict. It was the Wahhabi guy because obviously when we're praying in Mecca, it's the marble floor. Obviously, it's cold. He turns his prayer mat on the side, so I could share his prayer mat with him. And then when the salah finished, he gave me a handshake and embraced me in a way in which was like...
Wahhabi just doesn't do that because it's different sects just don't do that with each other.
Stupid stereotypical view that he's going to be cold and he's going to be... No, he embraced me. He was like, welcome, brother. He said, where are you from? Lovely little conversation we had. Fantastic conversation we had. And it was, again, another little light bulb moment. Like, this is it. I'm looking up at the night sky. I can see the Kaaba just, it's like we're up on the balcony. So you see the Kaaba just about. And all of a sudden, everything back home, back here, from the work system to everything, was just like
melted away.
We're being done over with this.
Yeah.
This is like what's real now and what's not real. Like, I'm thinking, what is real and what's not real? Because either this is all just a bit of a holiday. Like, when people go on holiday, they go on holiday. It's escapism, isn't it? They go on holiday to cut off and escape and have a bit of a relax, and they come back to the system. Well, I'm around people out there who are saying to me, "No, this is life."
Yeah.
Well,
what you're doing at home.
What we're doing
kind of
at home is the opposite.
Yeah. But it's not a holiday either.
It's a holiday. And I'll tell you another strange thing that was happening. I met probably 6 or 7 Muslims out there, brothers, who... Well, first of all, a brother came up to me who I met when I was on TRT once.
Right.
So I'm sitting up on the balcony.
Just ran into somebody randomly.
I'm sitting on the balcony, and we're just sitting up there, and I just hear, Kev. I'm like, nah, it's not Kev. We're in Mecca. No one's shouting. Nobody's shouting Kevin Mecca. It's like, Kevin. I'm like no. No. And they said, Kevin Turton. I was like, yeah, that's me. I'm like, what the hell? And it was a brother that he didn't know I was there. I didn't know he was there. He spotted me amongst people. And then what happened was I started seeing just strange I've never seen before. Another guy called Gareth, a brother from America, who we're just walking along, and we look at each other, we lock eyes. And he just says, Assalamu alaikum. I said, wa alaikum salam. And you can do that with anyone.
Yeah.
But you don't do it with anyone and click and talk for an hour.
Yeah. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
And that happened 5 or 6 times. So the last evening...
Like, the souls just attract to each other.
It was just this drawing of souls. Yeah. Like, on the last evening, I saw on Instagram that Mufti Menk was in Medina. Not necessarily, we didn't know that he was in Masjid al-Nabawi, but he was in Medina. I go out in the evening, I go to get some oud, go for a walk, come back, and he's just walking on his own, right, through Masjid al-Nabawi. I don't know, don't ask me what side it was on, but it was on the quiet side it was in the evening. And I'm really quite far away from him, and walking along, and I spot him, and I look at him, and he locks eyes at me, and he smiles, and I smile, and I run over, like a little fanboy. I run over, Assalamu alaikum, and he's Islam, I got a picture with him, and just things like that.
That doesn't happen anywhere else.
Yeah, and then really it was just sort of like the even sitting in a coffee shop in the clock tower, just looking, thinking, what are we doing? Like, what am I doing
with my life?
With my life, with this, the way I live at home. Like, what is it? Like, what?
So so obviously you must have had lots and lots of those kind of little kind of incremental kind of experiences.
Yeah.
So then when you've come back, because obviously I've reconnected with you when you've come back. Yeah. What has then changed in your life when you come back?
Well, the first thing that I think's changed is that there's the realization that there's another way.
Right. Then the 9 to 5 and the...
Yeah, not even just the 9 to 5, just the idea of our sole purpose is for wealth generation and our sole purpose is for material gain. Right. Just that, like you can, I'm not saying someone shouldn't work. I work a 9 to 5. There's nothing wrong with working a 9 to 5.
Yeah.
But I think what I came back to, what I felt is something which is enslaved me, if you like. Like I come back to like a bus lane fine, because I drove in a bus lane in Reading. Only ever been to Reading once. Don't know my way around. Went down a bus lane, get a fine, and it was just little things that you're thinking it's
enclosing you.
Yeah, is it
boxing you in?
Is it bureaucracy? Is it just a system that's just? I don't want to go all George Orwell.
Yeah,
you can. Yeah, but it's sort of like everything around seems to be there to box us in as much as we can, and to restrict us as much.
They're like paper chains, aren't they? It's like slavery in the past. Maybe at the time of Firaun was like real slavery, as in you're up in physical chains, and you're in you're beat up and all this. Yeah. But the slavery that I think this is the biggest fallacy as well. This is why people are so deceived by it, because the slavery that we have now, it's still slavery, but it doesn't seem like slavery. Yeah. It's like, because we've got all these mod cons, you've got this fancy mic and you've got a camera and you've got fireplaces and you've got cars and you've got electric cars. So it's like, well, we've got technology and civilizations has progressed and, we live better. There's always this conversation always. We live 20 times better than people 1,000 years ago because we've got washing machines and we've got anesthetic and we've got all of this. But we're all just working all the time. We're all just cogs in a machine trying to make money all the time. Not to get all Matrix about it, but...
I don't even think it's just money. I think you're right. I think it's money. I think my trip enlightened me beyond just the accumulation of money. Met a lot of people out there inside who've got a lot of money,
right,
but are still enlightened,
right.
So I don't think there's anything wrong. I don't think there's anything intrinsically wrong with wanting to generate wealth. I think it's where it's. I mean, ultimately, we go back. You asked me a question off camera about capitalism, right?
Yeah.
And I think capitalism. I'm not against capitalism. What I'm against is greed. Right, and ultimately that's the one word which I'd bring in and say greed is what spoils the whole thing. And off the back, what comes off that greed for me is the harming of other people, the taking of other resources, the oppression of other people in the service of capitalism, if you like.
When you've come back now, and you start to see this kind of slavery that we're in, and you can see all of this. I've got two questions for you. How do you feel about other people who still haven't had that breakthrough the way that you've had? How do you feel about those people? Are you trying to wake them up, and are you trying to...
It's difficult. I mean, look, I'm in a privileged situation, right? Because I'm a convert.
Okay.
Right. So I'm not, this is a different area, but I always get criticised for being able to move into two different worlds. I can't help that. That I can go into a certain part of society
and act like you're part of that society
and integrate, and then come into another.
Because the rest of us can't do it.
Yeah, well, I can't. I don't apologise for it. What I try to do off the back of it is say, well, actually, how can I bring those worlds together rather than being? Yeah, I'm going to take advantage, which is the mindset pre-Umrah.
Right.
So when I'm over there, I'm going to be the sales guy, and I'm going to do whatever I need to do in the dunya to succeed. But when I'm over here, I can relax a bit and I can be more myself, and I'm with the brothers.
But you're trying to meddle.
I don't want to. I don't want that anymore now.
Right. So you're trying to be. You're being more authentic about it in both places.
Yes, I don't want that anymore. I don't want to be this. I'm one person here, one person there. Right. I've got my faults. I know, as we all have, but I don't want to be this cut-off line. I don't want to go to work and go into industry and go into business and sales I could go into those interactions and use principles of what the Prophet ﷺ used to be known for, with the trustworthy one. I could use these principles. I'm not saying I didn't before, but it wasn't the intention before. So there's a difference. So to answer your question, I think it depends who you're talking to.
Right.
Like I don't think it's as easy as that. It's like
no, it's not.
I've got friends who are just off the charts, like done you crazy, and you speak to them, and what you said before, you start to rock the boat a bit, and they don't like that.
Well, with me, so obviously you and I had, because people on the camera don't know, but you and I were friends on Facebook at first. We were interacting with each other. Yeah. We had a bit of a fallout. It wasn't like finger pointing, and it wasn't.
I just didn't agree with what you said.
Yeah, it wasn't mudslinging.
Yeah.
And then you've kind of had this shift, and then we've reconnected. Yeah. There's more bond between us now.
Yes.
There's more warmth there.
Yes.
I think I have more zeal towards you than I had before, and I mean that as a compliment, right? So it wasn't that I didn't have zeal before, but like I want to be a part of your life more now.
Yeah.
But I think. But what I learned, so obviously you had a shift from that kind of fallout, if you want to call it, a separation, if you want to call it. But obviously you've had this shift from that separation. But I learned things from that as well. Like one of the biggest things that I learned, and it was actually yourself, that was the reason as to why I learned that, was I had to learn not to trigger people, because there was actually a part of me that was actually just very angry. Like, why can't you see this? Why do you not know this? How can you be so blind? There was all of that going on in my head. But now it's like, okay, but wait a minute. Maybe people just haven't had the time to think about these things. Maybe it's not been, and also why not deliver that information in a way where it doesn't rattle people? Why are you trying to hurt them? And what I realized was actually all it was I was just really angry at the people that have made all the money, and the greed, and the bankers, and all of this. I was angry at all of them, and what was happening was I was taking it out on everybody else. So everyone, please forgive me for doing that, because that's not really what I was, I wasn't realizing what was going on in my own head there. So I've learned not to take it out on people. I was actually angry at the system. So, and then, because I remember you had this conversation, you were like, look, I've got daughters, and, and if we get this financial apocalypse, how are we all going to survive in it? And there was a part of me that was almost unsympathetic about it with everybody. And I realized that I can't behave that way, because we got to look out for everyone.
So to follow from that, about you personally.
Yeah.
We didn't agree on certain things.
Yes.
We didn't argue, we didn't fight. There was nothing unpleasant.
No, but we kind of just separated.
Yeah, I just didn't like, and that was first primarily because I was locked in a frame of mind.
Yeah.
Which is the me game, the Nafs game, it's dog eat dog out there, and
you gotta look out for number
Khuram,
one.
I love what you're saying, brother, but it isn't the real world, man.
Yeah.
Like, you stop watching David Icke. Yeah. When I come back from Umrah, being honest, I didn't intentionally come and seek you out. I've said this before. It was a TikTok video. In the TikTok video, it was your warning about 2024. What I noticed was two things with you, and I know this isn't meant to be about
it's fine.
But it's a natural conversation. It was the quality of the video.
Oh, okay.
Right, was first.
So that helped.
I was like, no, well, it just seemed like it was a lot more thought going into it. It wasn't more of a triggered response. It was a more thought out response.
Okay. So that helps.
Secondly, and primarily though, was your message was a lot calmer and clearer.
Yeah.
Right. So
I've had to learn that as well.
Right. So what I'd go back to saying, to answer what you mentioned there a second ago, is, we could all be angry with people, and you asked me the question about other people. I can't go around dictating, but what I can do is I can lay the ground for, if they have a moment, like I had my own moment in Umrah, that my door is always open. And I think that's what you've done.
Now, yes.
Now.
Yeah, now. Yeah.
Whereas before, if you were still angry and fed up,
you just drive people away.
I'd come back from Umrah, I would have saw the video, it comes on one again. Yeah. Well, see ya.
Yeah.
But actually, you've shifted, and that's the best thing I think I can try to do.
Definitely,
it's just leave the door open for people. If you want to have a frank conversation about things, if you want to open up, we can do that. If you've had a trigger moment, you can do that.
Do you feel like now that, okay, yes, I was being overly charged 3 years ago, and then also you hadn't gone through the shift 3 years ago, but do you feel like on some level quite a lot of people have had this internal shift anyway as well? Like I feel like a lot more people are actually talking about the economy more, talking about greed. And whereas 3 years ago, they were everybody was kind of talking about holidays and everything else. I do feel like ever since we've had this major event, I do feel like there's been a shift in everybody anyway.
Since the virus, right?
Yeah.
Since that, I think I've noticed a lot of people, non-Muslim, Muslim, doesn't make any difference.
More people are wanting to have this conversation.
They're more aware of, and they've kind of fed it into this work-life balance. Well, life is short, and I want to spend my life doing things that are meaningful. I want to spend more time with loved ones. I couldn't do it through that difficult period we had. I wasn't able to see my family. So that is a thought process that's come in. But I think on a much deeper level, I think it has crept in more. I'm concerned about amongst what particular generation it started in now and what it's linked with. So maybe some of the more alpha male,
right?
We're stuck in the matrix. Alpha male, I've got to go out, which is fine if you want to go and have that party. That's up to you. I think through a more thoughtful, considered approach, which is I'd consider what you do and what I try to approach it as, which is sensible and mature, and we do our research, and I think that is still a long way to go with that. Personally, the more people are aware of it, whether people act on it is a different thing.
Yeah, I think what I've noticed is that there's still this, yes, I know we're going to get a financial apocalypse. Yes, I know there's greed and everything, but we still got to put food on the table and we still got to look after our kids. So let's just do what we can, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I've seen these conversations as well where people say, you know, with everything that's being done, people say, you know, I want to jump on a plane and I want to go and deliver aid. I want to go to XYZ country and I want to go and help the poor over there, the refugee crisis or whatever, and I want to go into the raid and everything. And I've noticed that, and because my conversation there is also as well, look, there is a system that is in place that has caused that fire in the first place. I'm not trying to say it in a way that's belittling what somebody else is doing. I'm not trying to undermine or trivialize what somebody's doing, but I'm saying that, look, I know that there is a need to put that fire out, but there's something else over here that's caused that fire. Why not focus on the thing that's causing that fire? Do you get what I'm saying? And that conversation still isn't taking place, I've noticed. Yeah,
and I also think, I mean, again, this is my opinion, is helping yourself before you can help anyone else. And I don't mean helping yourself meaning trying to accumulate as much as you can for you. No, I'm talking about helping yourself spiritually, helping yourself with knowledge about these things that we're talking about, awakening yourself to the idea that actually, there are problems over here which are causing these problems here. You've got to be aware of it. We've got to be conscious of it. What I'm trying not to do is become one of those people who rushes over there in an emotional state. You burn out and you end up right back over here where you started. It's like, no, you want to understand what is going on here, which has caused that over there. Yeah. In a nutshell.
I think I don't know what your opinion on this is, but I feel like it seems so big and so vast to figure out what is it that's causing all of this, that people actually find it easier to just put the fire out rather than say, they're like, oh, I don't have a PhD or I don't have a degree. I'm not going to be able to understand what's causing all of this. But I kind of feel like, why not just make the intention and turn to Allah and say, teach me. That's all I did was, I was like, I want to understand what's causing all of this, and I want to work on the root cause. And then the things came along, somebody came along and taught me.
I think there's two things for me: pragmatism,
and
self-esteem. Right. So, yes, there are ideas and there's things that need fixing. You've got to be pragmatic with it, right? Yeah. Secondly, we lack self-esteem as an ummah, as individuals. We lack huge amounts of there's all sorts of reasons. I'm almost at the point, I don't really care what the reason is. I think it should be a priority for every person, not just every Muslim, but every person, to try and build some self-esteem. Because off the back of self-esteem, will then allow you and me and the next person to go off and learn about what system we're in and why has it caused so much harm over here, and why is greed a driving force. And we haven't got self-esteem. No one's got self-esteem. They haven't got self-esteem to stand up for what's right. Some people have, but as a whole, we haven't. We lack self-esteem, which is why there's certain other communities out there who are far more organised.
Such as?
There's all sorts of communities.
You can't say on camera because of the video will get banned.
Yeah. But there are other communities.
So there's that community, basically.
Yeah, there's other communities out there who've got self-esteem,
Yeah.
very confident in who they are, what they are, where they belong, what they can and can't achieve.
But okay, I've got the question that I've got for you now is I really want to talk about the self-esteem thing.
Yeah.
Because let me just qualify that for you. For me, my learning and my thing has been, my sheikh always used to say, I don't want to kind of make the conversation all about like, you know, who's your sheikh and all that kind of stuff, but my sheikh used to say that the inward is a reflection of the outward and the outward is a reflection of the inward. And he also said that what's happening in the outward, so things like muamalat, right? So how man relates to society and how man relates to man in society and how systems run and all of that. It's like all muamalat. But then there's the inside, what the shuyukh called tasawwuf, working on your heart, working on your soul and everything. And he said that if somebody is corrupted on the inward or dark on the inward, then the outward will show that as well. And if somebody on the outward is corrupted and all of that, means that the inward is also as well, right? So he says they're both mirrors of each other. And the thing that you're talking about, this self-esteem thing that you're talking about, I feel like you've hit the nail on the head, because what you're saying is the reason why everything in the outward is not where it needs to be, because you say we don't have the self-esteem, so we have to make the change on the inward, right? Allah doesn't change the affairs of the people until they change what is in themselves. So I want to talk about that more. What in your opinion, now that you've been on this journey, what can we do?